Hey guys, what's up? This is JRP77 from JGN Games, and I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be doing a single tutorial rather than our series. Now, I promise our 2D RPG series will continue, but right now, this is what I've been looking forward to doing. So in this tutorial, we're going to be making a weapon, but not just any weapon. I'm not going to do the basics, but I'm going to explain it. But I'm going to do it a pretty advanced script. This is an advanced lesson, so if you're fairly new to Unity and C# and etc., then I would not suggest this tutorial, but I'll try to explain this as best as I can. And I'm going to be adding a fully automatic mode, a semi-automatic mode, and I'm going to introduce the Raycast function. So, yeah. So now, first I'd like to talk about the Raycast. The Raycast is basically, it draws a line between 2 points. So, like, let's say we had an object over here, then it would draw a line, and we wanted it to draw a line from here to here. We can do that with a little bit of coding, and it will draw an invisible line, and it's basically just making a collider across a line, so that if there's anything on there, then it will trigger a script. So first of all, I'm going to try to do this in under 20 minutes, so let's get started. First of all, I'm going to create a new C# script. I'm going to call this gun script. Now the first thing we're going to be is introducing the Raycast function and making it fire. So I'm going to open it. Whoops, that's the other one. We don't need that. Don't save. Okay, so first we're going to delete everything in the middle, and then we're going to add two variables. We're going to say public transform barrel semicolon. Then we're going to say public float range is equal to 0f. Alright. Now let's give it tell it to fire. So we're going to say void update. In here, we're going to say if input dot get button down parentheses quotation marks fire1 whoops start core routine fire semicolon. Okay, so what this does is we've created two variables. This one's going to be the start point of the array, and I just called it barrel, and then this is going to be how far it can go, and that's really all we need. And then this function checks to see fire1, so that's on the computer, that's left mouse click, on Xbox that's right trigger, so this works cross-platform. That's just the input for the computer. So now we're going to create, and then this is a function. This is basically telling it's a start a function, but these functions can use timers, and that's a really nice thing. So now I'm going to create that function that we made right there. So I'm going to say I enumerator. I believe I said, okay, so I'm going to say fire. Whoops, it is case sensitive. Parentheses. In here, we're going to create our two variables necessary for making our Raycast. We're going to say Raycast hit, semicolon. Then we're going to say ray is equal to a new ray that starts at the barrel dot position. Spelled position wrong. And then goes transform dot forward. Okay. Then we're going to say, now we need to see if anything has been hit by this function. So we're going to say if physics dot raycast parentheses ray comma out hit comma range. So this is what this is saying is it's getting all of our, this is the direction, this is just like a collider where we're checking to see if something's been hit. This is and this is the coordinates almost. We're looking for the coordinates, so like the direction it's going. Then we're looking for if something hits it, and then we're passing in our float value, and that's how far this array will go. Then we're going to open this if statement up and say if hit.collider.tag is equal to enemy. And here we're going to create a script next called enemy. So we're going to say enemy is equal to hit.collider.getComponent, case sensitive, open bracket, I guess, enemy. And then open parentheses, close parentheses, semicolon. Then we're going to say enemy.health minus equals 1. Now we want to be able to see this array, because remember, it is an invisible array. But there is a function we can use inside of the editor to see that this array has been triggered. We're going to say debug.draw array barrel dot, oops, spelled barrel wrong, dot position, comma, transform dot forward times range. And now, because we're going to be doing semi-auto and fully auto, and this is currently semi-auto, we are going to say color dot green. We can pass in a color to show which color we want the array to be. Okay, so then we need, in order for this function to work, we need to add one line of code. So we're going to say yield return null. Alright, so we're going to save this. And if we go back into Unity, okay, it's going to say unexpected symbol. Okie dokie. See if I haven't closed anything. If physics. Huh, that's weird. Whoops, okay, I forgot a parentheses right there. So now, if I go back, then we should say the type or namespace enemy cannot be found, so we're going to create a second C# script called enemy. Now in here, all we need are, we only need one variable, and that is health. We're going to say public int health. Then we're going to say void update, and say if health is less than or equal to 0, destroy game object. And basically what this does is so we have another script managing its health, but if this health is less than or equal to 0, then destroy the game object. Then we're going to say above it, debug.log health.toString, case sensitive, open parentheses, close parentheses, semicolon. That second one's important. Now, if I go back into Unity, I'm going to move this over to a new window and move this right there. Alright, so now we're going to set up our scene. So first, we need a game object cube. And I think I said 0.25 by 0.25. Yeah, that was what I said. Now I just got to position this. So I'm going to move this right there, and I'm going to move it in like that. I think it was 2. Alright. Alright, so now that we have this, we want to create where it's going to fire. So I'm going to hit F, and then I'm going to click on this cube, and then I'm going to go to game object, create empty child. Then I'm going to move this forward, and that's our barrel. So now I'm going to add this script to here. Gun script to here. Our barrel is our empty game object, and our range, we'll say 50. Now we need an object to put in its path. So I'm going to go game object, create cube. I'm going to move this out here, pretty far out actually. It's about right here. And I'm going to make it 5 by 5 by 5. Actually, 0.1, just thin. Then I'm going to make a material with a picture I found. So I'm going to go create material. I'm just going to call it that. And then I'm going to import a target, because why not add a target? So now I'm going to go find my image, target image. I'm going to go into this material, drag this over albedo, change the shader to unlit texture, and then drag this on to this cube. Alright, so now if we go into our game, ta-da, we have a target. Woohoo. Alright, so now we need to give this thing a tag. I've already made a tag, but if you don't have this, you just go to add tag, and then it will give you this, and you just click on this plus button, type in enemy, then you go back to the object and tag it. So I'm just going to tag this enemy. Now an important part of this is to change the box collider to is trigger to true. Alright, so now if I play, you'll see that if I fire, I can't see anything. And it says object reference not set to instance of object. Semi-auto weapon. Oops, forgot to add the enemy script to the object. So I'm going to go to the enemy. I'm going to add enemy script onto it. And I'm going to set the health to 5 for now. Now if I play, it says 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then it disappears. If you see that at the bottom, it's down here. So yeah, now that we finished that, we want to add in our next feature. And that is this, making it delay between shots. So I'm going to clear the console and I'm going to go back into our script. So what we want it to do is we want to add a delay between here. It's because this is going to be our fire auto. So I'm going to say that and I'm going to change that up there to fire auto. Now we need to set the delay. So I'm going to create a public float, delay is equal to 0f. Then we're going to create a bool. And we're going to say, and we're going to call it fired, not public bool. Then in here, we're going to say, on this if, we're going to do 2 and signs, and we're going to say, exclamation point fired. Then we're going to say, above this, fired equals true. This is so that we can't fire, like, a bunch of times in a row. Then we're going to say, do all this, blah, 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 and then we're going to change this to yield return new, wait for seconds. Whoops. And then in here we're going to say delay. Then I believe that I'm going to go, and then next we need to go fired equals false. Okay. So now let's go back into Unity, and I should have no errors. Good. Now I'm going to set this delay to 0.1. I'm going to hit play. And if you realize that I can't do anything, and that is because, well, I forgot to do one thing, and that was because get button down checks for 1 instance. But we want this to be if it's held down, so we just delete the down, and it will just say get button. Then this should work. I'm going to clear the console, and if you look down at my bottom left corner, you should be able to see it. And I'm actually going to, yeah. And if you look closely by the barrel of the gun, you can see it. All right, so it says 5, 4, 3, and you can see it fires like that. And we can increase this by going to our delay, and I can actually set this to 1. And now, every 1 second, it will fire a shot. It's pretty good. So now, but that's not every weapon. I'm going to change that back to 0.1 now. That's not every weapon. Every weapon doesn't fire 0.1. Sometimes you have a semi-automatic function. So that's what we're going to add now. We're going to add a semi-automatic function. Now, I'm sorry, but I don't think that we're going to have time to cover one thing that I wanted to do, but this is not going to be under 20 minutes. So now we're going to add the semi-auto feature. And basically all I'm going to do is copy this function, and then I'm going to paste it. It's as simple as that, but I just need to change this to fire semi, and then here I'm going to set this to yield return null. And then for this color, I'm going to change this to color red. Now I'm going to say if input.get button, button down, fire 1, and the fired function, the fired bool. Then I'm going to say fired is equal to true. I'm going to say start core fire semi. I'm going to see if I have an error, and I do not. Good. So now that we have that, if I click, you'll see it still is green. But that's because we haven't said if it's fully automatic or semi-automatic. So now we need to create that part. So I'm going to go into here, and I'm going to create two new variables. One of them is going to be a bool, and we're going to call it isAuto. Whoops. Semicolon. Then we're going to say public KeyCode. Now most people don't know you can do this, but it's actually pretty useful. We're going to say switch fire mode. Okay. Then we're going to scroll down, and underneath in the update function, we're going to say if input.getKey down. So this is checking for a key, not a button. They're very different. The button is checking for the input settings, and this is looking for a custom set like a KeyCode variable or a KeyCode dot, like a KeyCode dot space. That's what it's looking for. But since we already have a variable, we're gonna say switch fire mode. Now in here we need to check and see what isAuto is. So we're gonna say if exclamation point isAuto. Then we want to set. Then we want to set if it's not. Basically, the exclamation point means if it's not. So we're going to say if exclamation point isAuto, we want to set this to true. And then we're going to say else isAuto is equal to false. Then we're going to say here, for the top one, since it's auto, we're going to say and isAuto. And then for this bottom one, we're going to say exclamation point isAuto. So now that we have this, our script should be working as far as I want. So now we're going to go back into Unity. Shouldn't have any errors, but now we need to set this. I personally like Q, but you can set this to whatever you want, because these are all of the different keys you can use. I'm going to set this to Q. You can also search by tapping the one you want. I'm going to say Q. Okay. So now we should be able to see that I'm going to change the health of the game object to 10. Now if I click, if I click and hold, you'll see that it's red. I don't know if how well you can see that. I'm going to change that to color blue for the red, because you cannot see that. Okay. And you'll see, and you can't tell what health it is, but now it's 3, 2, 1, and then if I restart that, and I 5, 4, and then I do this, and I hit Q, I could fire auto. So that's how to make a weapon in under 30 minutes. I mean, not under 30, under 20 minutes. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this. And yeah, that's how you make a weapon and a target in under 20 minutes. Thanks for watching.